PDF slide. So there I modified it, but in the previous version it was not there. So basically, if you're so first you are checking that first you what you are doing, just since we are discussing, let's start from the beginning. So just first we have to identify a source destination pair. So what we do that you take the highest element of the matrix and then you are checking the transceiver constant. If node Imax has fewer than delta L outgoing edges and node Jmax has fewer than delta L incoming edges. So you are checking that whether node Imax has a transmitter, free transmitter, and node Jmax has a free receiver. So this is your checking the transceiver constant. So if it is successful, then you are going for the, then you will be checking the wavelength for the shortest path. And if wavelength is available, then you are basically, you will create the logical edge or light path. But if wavelength is not available, then you are making that traffic element to be 0. So this is corresponding to whether you are successful in satisfying wavelength constant or not. But what about if you are not successful to find out to satisfy the transceiver constant? So that was not mentioned. So corresponding to this if, so there should be another else. Okay. So basically it is there in the paper. So I when I wrote it, so there was an issue. But if you check the actual formulation in the paper, that your what is called that pseudocode in the for the algorithm, there you will see that this else statement is there. Okay, so this is one thing that I thought that I would clarify, and other things is okay. So today, so this is one thing. Actually, another thing I will just show, actually in that PDF slide it is there. So I'll be sharing with you that PDF slide. It is not this this PPT version. Right. Stop. Ajay, can you see my desktop? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You can see now. So there it will be easier for me. So I think. Can you see it?
Yes,
That there is a one this thing PDF file. Let me can you see it? The PDF file.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So basically, this is the same thing that I thought I will be present. Actually, if you see in that, there is that HLDA code. It was mentioned. HLDA that correspond to first if. So if wavelength is satisfied, then there is a if else, and corresponding to this transceiver constant, there should be another else. So this statement, it was not written in that PPT file. Okay, it is there in the original paper. So in that PDF, there is one thing that I want to show you. So basically, this is the problem statement. The designing wavelength router. So how to design a wavelength router, the optical cross connect. So let's say, so we know that this is the generic structure of a optical cross connect. That you have a fiber. So here it shows there are two fiber, two incoming fiber, two outgoing fiber. The direction is shown. And then for the incoming fiber, let's say it carries 32 wavelengths. So you have a demultiplexer. So it will demultiplex to individual 32 wavelengths. So corresponding to every wavelength, there will be one optical switch. So since you have this fiber carries 32 wavelengths, so you will have 32 optical switches. And then at the output side, so signal needs to be multiplexed because you want to send them to this output fiber. So output fiber also carries 32 wavelengths because input fiber 32 wavelengths, output fiber should also carry 32 wavelengths. So there are outgoing paths from the optical switches to these multiplexers. But for local add drop, you see that transceivers are there. And here we are using, so this diagram shows that we are using tunable transponders. So what is tunable transponders? So tunable transponders means that it has transponder means it has a transmitter and a receiver. So tunable means that it is a tunable transponders basically means that you can tune to any wavelength that you require. So it is not a fixed wavelength source. You can change the wavelength. So like previously we are discussing that that in our structure, optical cross connect structure, we are mentioning that you have laser source or transmitters with some particular wavelengths, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3. But here you see that this T portion, the transmitter portion is shaded. So this basically represents that it is a tunable transponder. Okay, you can change the color. And similarly, if you want to detect it, so for receiver also you should be able to detect any wavelength. So that means that I have, let's say this is one transceiver pair. So what it basically shows, if you see this diagram, so this tier, then another tier. So if you remember, I have mentioned that there is a short reach transceiver and there is a long reach transceiver. So what they are showing that, let's say there is an IP router, from the IP router has an optical port. So from this transmitter of that IP router, the signal will come to this receiver. But the distance of this transceiver and then your this IP router is a short distance. And then again it will be sent to a transmitter, which is a long haul transmitter. Okay, so that's why it's a, if you see the signal path, so first it comes to receiver. So this is short reach receiver, and then you are sending it to long reach transmitter, and then you can travel, let's say 1000 kilometers. But the short reach receiver means that there will be a short reach transmitter in the IP router. So which is for short distance communication, maybe few hundred meters maximum. Okay, so again, this transmitter, it shows that it is tunable. So what is, so if it is not tunable, then this shaded portion will not be there. But this black color, basically the shade basically represents that it's a tunable. Tunable means that you can change the color. So let's say I have only two transceivers and those are tunable. So it means that with one transceiver, I can generate and I can terminate any given color. Okay, so this in practice, actually, this tunable transmitter is very expensive. Very expensive. So they have shown that if there is tunable transceiver, how it looks. So this is the generic structure, and there this optical switch we have not shown. If you remember our diagram, I think it is there. You see that this is this diagram. We have shown transmitter array and then receiver array, but instead of here, what they are showing that there is an optical switch and then there is one tunable transponder and there is another tunable transponder. And there can be many more such transponders. So we'll show that why we use optical switch and basically the optical switch, what it will do. So what is the role of switch? So switch can send, switch can be configured and you can send signal from any input port to any output port. This is the role of the switch. So that means even though you may have many paths over here, and let's say you have some transponders over here, so you can switch, you can configure the optical switch, and then you can send your signal from the input side to the output side. So this is not a fixed connection. So to enable reconfigurability, we use optical switch. So it's a switch which works in the optical domain. So what is there? What is the problem statement? That we consider that there are 4 input fibers. The 2 are shown, so there are another 2. So this is the generic architecture. Maybe I can give you this such type of problem in the question paper, that you design a wavelength router or optical cross connect with the following requirement. The requirements are that it should be able to support 4 input fiber, 4 output fibers, 32 wavelengths on each fiber, and design the node such that 4 wavelength from each fiber can be dropped, or 4 wavelength to each fiber can be added. So let's say this is one fiber. So I want that 4 wavelength you can drop from the same fiber. So this fiber carries 32 wavelengths. I do not require to drop every 32 elements. This is a practical scenario, because although in this diagram what we have shown that it carries 3 wavelengths, and 3 wavelengths you can drop. You see that there is one path from lambda 1 to this receiver array, then this lambda 2 switch to receiver array, and lambda 3 switch to receiver array. So that means that if you require, let's say it carries 3 wavelengths, all these 3 wavelengths can be dropped. And similarly here, you see that there is a path from transmitter array to lambda 1 switch, lambda 2 switch, lambda 3 switch. So you can add these 3 wavelengths. But so that means this fiber carries 3 wavelengths, this fiber carries 3 wavelengths. If you require all 3 wavelengths from one fiber, you can drop. And all 3 wavelengths from one fiber you can drop like that. And also you can similarly add. Okay. So like if you want to drop lambda 3 wavelength, so you will take this path, drop, and for suppose you want to drop lambda 3, you can also drop. Okay, so that is there. That is there. But see one thing, that if you want to add lambda 3 in the same fiber, it is not possible, even in this structure. So suppose I am using, I want to generate 2 lambda 3, and both these lambda 3 I want to put over here. This you cannot do. Because if you want to generate 2 lambda 3, so basically this structure shows that if you want to generate a lambda 3, so this you can generate only 1 lambda 3. You see that is, this structure shows this. So 1 lambda 3 is there. That lambda 3 either you can send to over here or over here. So you cannot generate 2 lambda 3. So this is a limitation over here, because you see there is only one path. So here actually this is a fixed transmitter array they are using. So it shows that it has one laser with lambda 1 source, another laser with lambda 2 source, another laser with lambda 2 wavelength, and another laser with lambda 3 wavelength. Okay, but if we go back to this diagram, so you see that we are using optical switch. So here using this connection, you have to design this, that you should have 4 input fibers, 4 output fiber. Each fiber should carry 32 wavelengths. Design the node such that 4 wavelength from each fiber can be dropped, or 4 wavelength to each fiber can be added. So like this fiber, so in this, from this node, 4 wavelength to each fiber can be added. Okay, simultaneously. So let's say there are 4 such fibers. So what is the node, the capability of the node should be that I should be able to add 4 wavelengths in the first fiber, in the second fiber, in the third fiber, in the fourth fiber. So so 4 into 4, that means I require at least 16 transmitter. And using tunability, you can generate the wavelength that you require. So it is tunable. And similarly, its requirement is that 4 wavelength from each fiber can be dropped. So this is first fiber. So I can drop 4 wavelengths. So now you have 4 input fibers. So 4 into 4, 16 receiver you require. So basically, your object, you have to find out that let me complete the statement. The wavelengths are added or dropped through tunable transponders. That is there. So now the statement is that, problem statement is that you have to design such node with minimum number of devices. Okay, so what is my requirement? There should be 4 input fiber, 4 output fiber. Each fiber should carry 32 wavelengths, and from each fiber, 4 wavelength should be or can be dropped, and at the same time you should be able to add 4 wavelengths to each fiber, and your transceivers are tunable or transponders are tunable. Okay, so now you have to design such node with minimum hardware. So if you in the next slide we have shown the this thing, that dimension. So what do you require? You require 4 input fiber, 4 output fiber. It is clear. Each fiber should carry 32 wavelengths. It is given. Now, we know that for every wavelength there will be one optical switch. Since each fiber carries 32 wavelengths, so you require 32 optical switches. That is for sure. And now, if I look at this thing, this device is a demultiplexer. So all wavelengths from the fiber comes. So you split it in 32 different wavelengths. Okay, so it's a just looking at the color or the frequency, you split them. So this demultiplexer dimension should be 1 into 32, 1:32, because you require 32 different wavelengths. So we require 4 demultiplexers with dimension 1:32, and similarly here we require 4 multiplexer with 32:1 dimension or 32:1 size. So look at here. So 4 numbers of 1:32 demultiplexer and 4 numbers of 32:1 multiplexer. You see, and you require 4 input fiber, 4 output fiber, and you know that multiplexer demultiplexer size. Now we come to the optical switches. So how many switches you require? So it is sure that you require 32 switches because you have 32 wavelengths, and we know that there should be one switch for one wavelength, 1:1 mapping. So you require 32 different optical switches. So that is there. And now regarding this, the number of input ports and output ports of the switch. Okay, so you have 4 fibers. So you can carry λ1 here in the first fiber and similarly in other fibers. So you require 4 output ports that should go from different demultiplexer to this the λ1 switch. So that 4 inputs is there, but you see they have shown that they require another 4 input ports. Actually, these 4 input ports. So because you see the problem statement, 4 wavelengths from each fiber can be dropped. Okay, so it is fully reconfigurable, and when it is shown that 4 wavelengths can be dropped, so it may happen that you require that λ1 wavelength should go from the local node or these transponders. Since you have 4 fibers, so maximum you can generate 4 λ1 wavelengths, and 1 λ1 wavelength will go to 1 fiber. So you have 4 different fibers. So you require then 4 λ1 sources. So you should have 4 fibers, the 4 input ports to generate these 4 λ1, 4 λ1 signals. So initially you have the 4 input ports for these 4 fibers, and you also require 4 port in the optical switch, because there is no limitation. So there should not be any constant. It is just mentioned that 4 wavelengths should be added to each fiber. So you may require that, okay, there is no such restriction. So you require that 4 λ1s you can generate, and it should go, because since you have 4 fibers, you don't require more than 4 λ1 wavelengths, because in the one fiber you cannot put 2 λ1. So this is one fiber. So in one fiber you cannot put 2 λ1. Since you have 4 outgoing fibers, you then will require only 4 λ1 signals. And all these λ1 signals should come here. So 4 λ1 signal for local add and 4 λ1 for 4 input fibers. So 4 plus 4, 8. So your optical switch will have 8 input ports. And regarding the output side, you have 4 output fibers. So you require 4 lambda 1 ports in the optical switch. Okay, and the idea is that you should be able to drop 4 wavelengths from each fiber. So let's say you want to drop lambda 1 from the first fiber, lambda 1 from the second fiber, lambda 1 from the third fiber, lambda 1 for the fourth fiber. So then you will require that 4 input ports over here. You want to you want to drop. Since you want to drop, so in this side you would require 4 output ports. So 4 output ports for the 4 outgoing fibers and 4 output ports for the local drop. So these optical switches should have a dimension of 8 cross 8, and you require 32 such switches. So that's why your optical switches are 32 in number, and it should have 8 input port, 8 output port. It is there. 32 numbers of 8 cross 8 optical switches. Now we have to identify what is the dimension. So this is gone, this is done, the switches are done, the multiplexer are done. So now you have to identify what should be the dimension of this optical switch and how many transceivers you require. So first look at the transceiver. So what is mentioned here, that 4 wavelengths from each fiber can be dropped. Now you have 4 fibers. So from each fiber you can drop 4 wavelengths, and you have 4 fibers. So 4 cross 4, that means 16 receivers you require. And similarly, you should require 16 transmitters. Because you want to add 4 wavelengths to each fiber. Now you have 4 fibers. So 4 into 4, 16 transmitter you require. So how many transponders you require? You require 16 transponders. So this is done. 16 number of transponder. Now you come to the optical switches. So what is the dimension? What should be the dimension of optical switches? So you see in this side you have 16 transmitters and 16 receivers. So you see that 16 input output ports. Okay, so 16 input output ports in this side, and this side how many ports you would require? Okay, so as we know that you have 4 outgoing fibers. So you have the provision in the optical switches so that you can generate 4 wavelengths, 4 lambda 1 wavelength that should go to the lambda 1 switch, and you can send it to 4 different outgoing fibers. So you require 4 outgoing links for one optical switch. Because in the output side you have 4 different output fiber. In each fiber you want to send 1 wavelength of same color. So lambda 1 color you want to send in 4 different output ports. So you require 4 lambda 1 signal to be generated. Similarly, you require 4 lambda 2 signals. You require 4 lambda 3 signal. So how many how many output links you have to generate? So 4 into 32. So 4 into 32 is your 128. So in this side you require 128 output ports. Okay, so using these output ports, you can generate like lambda 1 color you can generate 4 times. Lambda 2 color you can generate 4 times. Okay, so you require 128 output ports. So similarly, in this side also you require 128 output ports, input ports for this optical switch with reference to this switch. So these are the input ports. So what is and here you see we have identified there should be 16 input ports, 16 output port. So for this optical switch, your dimension should be 128 plus 120 input ports plus 16 input ports. 128 plus 16 is equal to 144. So 144 input port for the optical switch, and similarly you have 16 plus 128, that is 144 output ports. So you require one optical switch with 144 input port and 144 output port. Okay. So this is the minimum dimension you require to avail this facility. And using this optical switch, you have flexibility. Like you can and you see that how many receivers you have, transceivers you have. You have only 16. Okay, so so that means simultaneously you can generate only 16 wavelengths. Okay, 16 wavelengths you generate. Although each fiber carries 32 wavelengths, you can generate only 16 wavelengths. But using, since your transponders are reconfigurable, you can change color. So using these 16 transmitters, if you want, you can send same signal, let's say lambda 1 signal in each fiber. And then, so you require 4 lambda 1 signals that you can generate because your number of transmitter is 16, which is more than 4. And similarly, you can generate another, basically the idea is that you can generate 16 wavelengths. It depends on what is your requirement. And using this optical switch, you have flexibility. Like I want to generate, let's say 4 lambda 1. So there will be 4, you have 16 transmitter. So 4 transmitter will be tuned to lambda 1. So they will come and I will change the switch configuration such that these 4 ports, which are 4 outgoing ports, should go to the optical switch. And let's say in a different scenario, I want only 1 lambda 1 to be generated. So I will change the optical switch configuration so that only 1 lambda 1 port will be used. Other port will not, other port which goes to this lambda 1 will not be used, because you see that for for each switch, optical switch, you have 4 ports which should come from the optical from this optical switch, because it has total 128 ports. So 4 port is for this lambda 1. Okay, but we may require only 1 lambda 1. So the signal from this side, because you have only 16 transceivers, it is very small in number. You have only 16 input this side, and you have here 128 outputs. So this should be the flow. You have 16 input from this side, and you have 128 output. So that's why you are using a switch, because this is a 16:128 connection. So you have to have switch so that you can properly connect this 16 input to this 128 outputs. So whomever you require. So only 16 outputs will be useful at a time because you have 16 transmitters. Okay, so check this thing, and in the problem in the question paper, maybe I'll change the values, and then accordingly you have to find out those things. Okay. So you require one optical switch 144 and cross 144 dimension. And here it is 16 transmitter, 4 for each band. Actually, band means they may mean to say fiber. Okay, 4 for each fiber. Because that is the requirement, that each fiber, from each fiber you can draw 4 wavelengths, and in each fiber you should be able to add 4 wavelengths. So it is 4 for each fiber. So you require total 16 transponders. Okay, so this is there. Now I should, so otherwise it is okay. I could complete this entire portion. So as I told that I will show that MILP formulation, so that issue, but let me do this thing. So the is it coming? Okay, it's coming. Can you see this OneNote page?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So actually this problem, so basically this is for that's how to use Cplex. So for this the student who attended that communication simulation laboratory, I have shown them the same example, but others have not attended. So just I am showing to find the shortest path using this thing. Let's see, you can see. To find shortest path using linear problem LP first. Okay. To find shortest path using LP based optimization formulation. So basically the what we want to, actually I'm not able to see my cursor, which is there. So basically this is OneNote. This is 5, this is 7, 7, 2, 8, 4. So basically we have to find out the shortest path from node 1 to node 4. So your source node is equal to 1 and your destination node equal to 4. So find out the shortest path. That is the problem statement. And these are the cost of the link edges, or these are the cost of the links or edges. So now how to do this thing? So basically what we can say that your, let's say your traffic is, well, I am not able to see the cursor. That's the issue. I don't know where this is there. So so how we will be designing? So let's say you have 1 unit traffic, that you need to send from 1 to 4. So now I am trying to see that what path it should use. So let's say I am writing Xij. Xij represents traffic that flow through ij link. Okay, ij link means I to j link. It's a directed link. So I to j link. So initially I don't know what is the value of Xij for different links. So let's say I am I write this thing as X12. So X12 represents this traffic. So similarly, I can write here X23. I can write it as X24. This is your X34. And this is your X13. Okay. So so first what you have to do, that you have to write the, so basically let's say this is my 1 unit traffic. So let's say this is taking this path, or maybe some part of it is taking this path, because that means that X12 traffic is taking this path and X13 traffic is taking this path. X23 is this amount of traffic. X34 is this amount of traffic which takes 3-4 link, and X24 is the amount of traffic which takes 2-4 link. So now I have to what I have to do, I have to find out the basically what what is that called? That basically your at any particular node, so total amount of incoming traffic will be equal to outgoing traffic. So here, so let's say at the first node, so basically there is no traffic sink. So we are considering here that there is a 1 unit traffic is coming at node 1 and then 1 unit traffic should leave here. So basically it clearly says that in 1 unit traffic also there is no sink, and in 4 also there is no sink. Actually, if you compare with your traffic constant condition, what you have considered for our LP-based formulation, so their node 4 was considered as a destination node, but here actually this is your source node, this is destination node. In this way you want to consider, but we consider that from node 4 also traffic is leaving. Okay, so there is no sink in the existing network. So total 1 unit traffic is coming to node 1 and it is leaving from node 4. Okay, so there is a so now if I want to write the equation over for node 2 corresponding to node 1, so 1 unit traffic is the incoming traffic and outgoing traffic is the x12 traffic and x13 traffic. Okay, so before that first I have to write the objective. What is my objective function? So this is the shortest to compute the shortest path. So 5 is the cost factor to carry 1 unit traffic through this link. So for x12 traffic, the cost of using this link will be 5 into x12. Objective should be minimize. It's a shortest path, so you have to minimize. So minimize 5x12 plus 8x13 plus 2x23 plus 7x24 plus 4x34. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. Okay, and subject to, so there should be some constants. So I should write a generic name constant. So what are the constant? So the constant would be that 1 unit traffic comes at node 1 and the outgoing traffic is x12 and x13. So I should write, so basically I can write here 1 equal to x12 plus x13. So this is for incoming traffic equal to outgoing traffic. So for node 1. So similarly, I can write is here. So similarly, I can write for node 2 that your incoming traffic is x12 traffic and outgoing traffic is x23 traffic and x24 traffic. So this is for node 1. This is for node 2. Then I can write such equation for node 3. And also I can write such equation for node 4. So for node 3, it should be that your incoming traffic is x13 and your x23, outgoing traffic is x34. And for node 4, your incoming traffic is x24 and x34, outgoing traffic is 1. So these are the 4 equations. But actually you will see that one equation will be redundant here. So we can write that out of these 4 equations, one equation will be redundant. If you check that x12 is equal to, maybe we can write, check it here. Where is my cursor? This is there. So basically we can write it here x13. Maybe we can start from equation 3, x13 plus x23. So x13 plus 23. X13 plus x23. So 3, 4, 1, 2 is not x13, x12, x23. Okay, you can write it x13. X13 is not there, so we couldn't. X23 is there. No, x34 is there. Okay, so from 2 you can check it, x13 from 3, x13 plus x23. Okay, just check this thing. Your x34 is there. How we can check x13 by make a subtraction, 2 minus x23, which is not there. x34 is there, x24, x34, x13 and x24 is there. Let's try. I don't know whether I will get. So x34 is equal to x13 plus x23. Okay, so x13 x34 is there. Okay, x13 if I want to replace, x13 is equal to 1 minus x12, and x23 is equal to x12 x1323 x12 minus x24. So this is the first term and this is the second term. So if I do this thing, then I will get 1 minus x24. So implies that your x34 plus x24 is equal to 1. Okay, so that means that I can get this equation as a linear combination of the other equations. Okay, so that means this equation is not giving any value or doing any value addition to my existing constants. So basically you can use it, no harm in it, or you can cancel this equation. Okay, now so this is your formulation. So if you, and what should be the nature of these x12, x23, those variables? So these variables, you see either the traffic will follow this path or traffic will not follow this path. So you can say that these variables, so like x12, then x13, x23, x24, x34 are binary. Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the problem statement. Look, we could have solved Dijkstra algorithm to solve it, but instead of using Dijkstra, we could easily write a optimization formulation, LP-based optimization formulation, and we can solve it. But issue is that you should have an optimization solver. Okay, so this is the problem statement, and let's say I want to solve this problem using this solver. How would I do this? So for this, first you have to load this Cplex. So already it is there. Maybe if I show it. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
So basically you should go where your Cplex is loaded. Okay, so you load in Cplex in one folder, and then first you go from your command prompt in that particular folder, and then you open Cplex. That's the issue. Okay, so just I have already opened it. So Cplex is opened. So now I'll be I have already, if you see the folder, that Cplex demo. So actually first let me remove today's file. Actually I checked it in the morning. So let's say I remove this file first. Let's say it is not there. So this is the folder, Cplex demo folder. So here you see that I have written a shortest path program in MATLAB. So that you have to write. You can, there I am saying that you could have written any other thing, like you can write it in your Python, C, C++, whatever you want. So actually I have given this job to one student, so he had done it for me. So what you have to do, that these are the set of equations that I have shown. So for this equation, first you have to generate this text file. So what I want, that look, whatever I have written in the OneNote, so this type of output I generate. I want that minimize. So same thing, if you compare with this thing, your OneNet, if you have written it, you can check it. That minimize 5x12 plus 8x13 plus 2x23, etc. So minimize 5x12 plus 8x13 plus 2x23 plus 7x24 plus 4x24. And there is a plus sign at the beginning. It is not doing any harm. It is not a minus. So if you don't give any sign, that means it is a addition. And this 5x12 etc. These are your decision variables. So subject to, when I'm writing constant, instead of it you have to write subject to, because this is the syntax what Simplex can understand. And then these are the constants. So as I mentioned, there were 4 constants, but one constant is a linear combination of the other constant. So you can remove that constant. So now effectively you have 3 constants that you have to write. And these variables are binary. So this is you want. So already I have wrote it in this format. You see the same thing I'm writing, but I could have manually generated a text file that 5x12 plus 8x13 plus 2x23. These minimize this, then subject to this. But instead of it, we are using one programming tool. So the programming tool can be MATLAB, can be Python, etc. So I told it to that student. So what he does, that he wrote a nice code in MATLAB, and then this is the output. That output he has shown me, and then I see that it is okay. It appears to be okay, because you have to understand that it is a very small equation. You can have many more equations, like in your LP-based formulation there are hundreds of equations. So it is not possible for me to check every equation, but I can check the MATLAB file. I see that it appears okay. It is coming equation. Here's something. Okay. And now I can generate this text file. So this text file you have to fit it into Simplex. So that exactly we are doing. So this is the Simplex. So now what is the name of the text file? Let's see. So name of the text file is shortest path. So I am reading it. Achha, before that, I want to show one thing, that in this demo file there is no output file. You see, I'll soon write a generate a file with the extension .sol .solution. So you see this is not there. So that means we are doing it now, right now. So first I am reading that file. Read. So what it is, what it do, the file type option. So it's a type should be, it should be your LP file. It's a LP format. So basically it's asked me that what is the nature of the file. So it's a LP file. So I'm writing LP. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So if it now says that problem shortest path dot text read. Read time is 0.01 second. Okay. So very small time it takes. Now I have to give only one comment, optimize. No additional comment I require to give, optimize. It says that it's a integer optimal solution. You see, because your all the variables are binary in nature. That means they're integer. So it says that it is the integer optimal solution, and objective value is 1.1 into 10 to the power 1. So that means 1.1 into 10. So that means 11. Your objective is 11. And your solution time is 0.03 second, much less than 1 second. So I want to be, so it says that your objective is value is 11. So that means that shortest path is 11. And I may be interested to see the entire path. Okay, in a shortest path problem, we want to see the entire path. So what I'll be doing, I just write the output in a solution file. So write. So let's say in output file. Okay, output file in today's date. So let's say today is 21st January 2101. 210121. Okay, 210121, and then the solution should be, the extension should be sol. Incumbent solution written to file out 210121 sol. So then this file should be generated. So in the same folder where the text file is there, it will be stored there. So let's see the simplex demo folder. So you see that, look, this out 210121 has been generated. So I am opening it. Open with okay, I think Notepad. Okay. Okay. So in Notepad I opened it. So here you see that that problem name is shortest path.text. Then your okay, you can go back. So these are the variables. I have highlighted these variables. Can you see it?
Yes,
Hello.
yes.
So you see it says that x12 value is 1, then x13 is 0. Okay, so you can note down. Okay, I will note down in a piece of paper that what are the values it shows. So my x12 is equal to 1, then x23 is equal to 1, and your x34 is equal to 1. Rest of the binary variables, so that means your x13 and x24 are 0. x13 and x24 are 0. That you can check. Okay, so now, so this is the solution you obtain from this formulation. Now I go back to my actual this one note that thing. So what I find that the x12 is 1, x23 is 1, x34 is 1. 1, 2, 2, 3, and 3, 4. So the path is, you can see, it is this path. So x12 is 1, x23 is 1, and x34 is 1. And rest of the variables are 0. So x13 is 0, x24 is 0. So basically it means that your entire traffic follows this path. So this is the shortest path. So you have 1 unit traffic, so this entire traffic follows this path. Okay. So this is such easy to write it. But actually, in my opinion, it is there are some problems with this thing, this formulation. So I had told him to implement. So unnecessarily he made it binary. It is not required to be mentioned, because if I have already mentioned, you should try to formulate your problem as a LP problem. This current problem is an integer linear problem. Integer linear problem has more complexity compared to LP formulation, because you are saying that your your decision variables are binary in nature. So it is more stringent condition. But instead of it, you should make it as LP, and we could easily make it as LP. Just you mention these variables, decision variables, as general variables. General means that it can take fractional values as well. Okay, so then it will take even less time. For small problem, you will not be able to differentiate it, but maybe for larger problem, it will give you that better. But it will give you can solve in less time. And another thing, what I just it is I have not done it, so it is you do it. Basically, your traffic, you consider that traffic is your starts from so my I wanted to find out the shortest path between 1 and 4. So it is expected that traffic will leave this 1-2 link along this 1-2 link, and traffic will leave along this 1-3 link. But he had considered that traffic follows this path, 2-3 path. But on the contrary, your shortest path could have been this path also. So you should consider this x32 decision variables also. Fortunately, your path is this. So So your x23 is 1, because you have to understand your x23 can't be a negative value. It has to be 0 or more than 0. So in my opinion, you should take another variable like x32. Just when you are writing this thing, you add cost function is same 2. So you had to make an addition that plus 2x32. Okay, this needs to be added. And since you are considering this traffic flow, so this equation need to be again rechecked. So this equation will not change, but this equation will be at node 2 or node 3, the equation would change. Even node 4, it will not change. But here you may have to be, it need to be modified, and here it need to be modified. Just so what I am requesting you to do this problem, you solve this problem, okay, and you tell me that that if you incorporate this variable x32 variable, then what is the outcome? And you can play with different graphs. So this is one topology I have seen. But let's say I change the topology such that the path should be 1, 3, 2, 4. That means you have to change the link weight so that 1, 3, 2, 4 is your shortest path. Then you see this current formulation, whether it works or not. And with this thing, with this modified graph, you can verify that your new formulation, what I am suggesting now, that would work. Okay. So this will be one of your assignment. So I'll give you the statement that given a different topologies, so just you write small optimization formulation using simplex and show me the result. Okay. And then you have to extend it for that wavelength routed optical network design. Okay. Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So I'll give you the problem statement. Maybe I'll give you the same graph and then find out the problem, but you have to introduce this new variable and then solve, as I mentioned. And later on, I will give another graph such that that only I will change the cost so that your shortest path should be 1, 3, 2, 4. And then check in both the cases. Basically, then your problem formulation will not change. So only thing is that you have to change the topology and then you have to see what is your result. Okay, and then you have to use it to solve that wavelength routed optical network design problem. Okay. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so today I will give you that, share with you that slide and also that problem statement. So we have identified at least 2 assignments. So first assignment will be the shortest path finding problem using LP formulation. And the second one will be that designing of routed optical network using mixed integer linear programming. And third one also we have identified that you have to implement the HLDA scheme. HLDA plus LP formulation. So these 3 assignments I will give. So this is related. And you download Cplex in your system, install it in your system, and then use it. And for programming purpose, I have shown that that student used MATLAB. So you could have used any other programming tool, and I suggest that you start using Python. Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay then. So we'll meet next week, Monday.
So
Okay.
for mixed integer linear programming also we will use LP command.
The same command. Basically, you have to give same command. So what commands you are giving? So you are giving the command like read file name, then you are writing optimize. Okay. And then After optimization, you are saying write out in this this thing file name. Okay, only 3 command we are using. So read. I will give you this thing. The 3 comments I'll inform you. I'll send there. I'll write in that chat box. Okay. So basically, one thing will be you have to read. Then you have to write the file name. Then you have to give one command of optimize. It may be maximization problem or minimization problem. And in that problem statement, it is mentioned whether it is a maximization problem or minimization problem. And then the third command will be that you write in the appropriate output file name. So it will be written over there, and then you can see the variables, and from that variables you should be you should have an idea that what is those values. Maybe you can find out those particular variable. You have to give a search. Basically, you can generate the, so that is up to you how you proceed. So if it is a very big program, it's a big text file, then you have to search those variables x1 to x23, those variables using another code. Maybe you have to read that entire text file, and in the text file, after reading it, you find out where are those decision variables, because decision variables has a fixed pattern x1 2 x23 some values. So you search those values and then see what are the values there, and then you will be able to find out the value of those variables. So you can find out the path, you can find out the traffic they carry, etc. And this formulation is same for MILP, ILP, and LP. I don't know about that nonlinear programming. So I don't know whether nonlinear programming can solve using simplex or not. That I have not verified. But mixed integer linear programming, linear programming, or integer linear programming, all of them can be solved using simplex. Because whenever you call them, the solver calls that appropriate subroutine. So that algorithm which solves the such optimization problem and give you the solution.
So in the command prompt, that I have to write down the location of the Simplex studio, right?
First you have to write the location in the Simplex to where your Simplex studio is loaded. Okay, how I proceed? So basically from the command prompt I went to the folder where your Simplex is loaded. So after going there, I just give a command Simplex. Then Simplex will open.
Okay.
Okay. So after it is open, you do all these things, you get the solution. Okay. So we'll meet next week then. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.